With there being two very different versions of Chucky, how do they differ?
Your lemon squares taste like ass.
Welcome to another Slasher Saturday where I talk about all things horror. My name is Em, aka Horror, and in today's video I will be discussing both versions of Chucky, what separates them as individuals, and how their strengths and weaknesses differ. This isn't going to be a who played Chucky better video, but rather a look into the differences of both the characters. Whilst I am sure I know who the majority of people would think plays Chucky better, there is a vast difference in the two versions and how the stories are told, making this comparison unfair. For the sake of the video, I am going to compare the remake to the OG Chucky from the first Child's Play only. His character alone has evolved tremendously and has an awful lot of history which deserves a complete video of its own. Due to the remake only having one instalment and not enough character development, we have not seen enough of this version to fairly compare it to the entirety of the OG Chucky's history. Both versions of Chucky are very different to each other. Although they are both a killer doll, their origins are extremely opposite. We were first introduced to the original Chucky in 1988's Child's Play. This is where we met Charles Lee Ray, a criminal who during a police chase transfers his soul into a good guy's doll, the latest children's craze. He is then bought by a woman called Karen who has purchased it from a peddler for her son's birthday. The dolls have their own names and interact with those who play with them. Charles uses this to his advantage when he is introduced to Andy. He calls himself Chucky and falsely befriends him and tries to transfer his soul into Andy's body whilst killing people around him. He is then eventually defeated by Karen and the police officer who has been assisting them when he is burnt and shot several times. In the remake version of Child's Play, we see a different take on the origins of the doll. This time he is an AI buddy doll who is introduced once again to a boy named Andy, who this time is older than we see in the original version and has a hearing impairment. This doll has been tampered with by a disgruntled employee, and all of its safety features have been turned off. He has named himself Chucky and becomes extremely attached to Andy and has a skewed understanding of friendship. He ends up killing those around Andy, and through his technology he has taken over the other buddy dolls in the mall where the final act takes place. He is eventually defeated by Karen and the police officer similar to the original, and his body is then destroyed by Andy and his friends. The personalities of both versions of Chucky are also very different. The original Chucky is witty, sarcastic, and downright sinister. His one-liners have become legendary, reminding us that he is as charming as he is deadly. He revels in his murders and taunts his victims with dog humour. The 2019 Chucky lacks that human nuance. While he does have moments of humour, it is not portrayed in the same way. His actions stem from his programming to be loyal to Andy, which makes him feel less like a manipulative killer and more like an overly attached friend gone wrong. We also see similarities to this in movies such as Megan. Whilst their personalities may differ, their appearances are very similar. In the original, we see Chucky wearing a multicoloured striped long-sleeve t-shirt with dungarees which have the Good Guys logo. This perfectly contrasts his ginger hair. His facial expressions almost feel realistic, and the changes his face makes are petrifying. He goes from being an innocent-looking child's toy to a menacing psychopath with very little effort. He also bleeds and feels pain due to his human counterpart. His outfit in the remake is very similar with slight changes made. His dungarees instead say Buddy and the stripes are slightly different. He has the same sort of hairstyle and colour, however his facial expressions are certainly more robotic due to him being an AI being without any human elements. In the original movie, the themes heavily lean on the supernatural. Chucky's origin tied to voodoo raises the stakes, blending horror with the elements of the occult, adding a layer of depth to his terror. It reflects the fears of the time surrounding serial killers and the unpredictability of evil in human form. The remake plays on modern-day technology and how easily technology could turn against us. With there being such an advance in how technology works, which is also constantly changing, it gets into the minds of the viewer that any household object could potentially harm them in one way or the other. Chucky in this version learns behaviours, communicates with other devices, and even adjusts based on feedback from Andy. Both films tapped into our fears, but in very different ways. The original film explores the terrors associated with trust and the innocence of childhood, while the remake highlights the darker side of modern technology and what happens when machines can't be controlled. The impact of these films also speaks to their respective times. The late 80s was rife with paranoia about violent crimes, while the 2010s raised alarms about technology's role in our lives. Both versions of Chucky reflect these themes very well, and you can see how each character differs due to these factors. It is clear when these versions of the characters were written, and how they are portrayed captures each message perfectly, making both versions unique and scary in complete opposite ways. The original Chucky has gone on to have a whole widespread franchise which includes multiple movies and a TV series. This showcases his personal life and goals, bringing in more supernatural elements, giving you a deeper look into the character itself. The remake has not had any further attention, and it would be very difficult to continue these sorts of themes for an AI being which has very little emotion or feeling, restricting what can be done with the character. I recently made a Pennywise versus Pennywise video, and looking back on this, I feel I missed out on one aspect which would be very interesting and fun, which can also involve you guys if you would like to join in. So I asked who would win in a fight out of Pennywise versus Pennywise. The results from you guys were, with 31 votes, 61% voting for the original and 39% voting for the remake. I must say I was shocked at how people voted with this one, but I 100% agree. Whilst the remake version of Pennywise is completely terrifying and violent, the original has a more clever side to him which seems less reckless and more well thought out, bringing a threat to his prey which the remake does not have. I then went on to ask who you would rather see a versus video on, Freddy Krueger or Chucky. As I have made this video, it is clear that Chucky won. So I also asked you who would win in a fight out of Chucky the original and the remake. The results for this one were exactly how I thought they would be. Once again, I also agree with the results of the poll, and I do think that the original Chucky would win in a fight. His violence, wit and voodoo aspects would overpower any AI. Whilst the remake version can influence the other Buddy dolls, the original has powers which can not only do the same, but also exceed in what the aim is. AI is much easier for humans to turn off and defeat, whereas a supernatural being has threats to humans which are much harder to overcome. His mindset, being more human-like, has a more well-thought-out process and does not limit him on his emotions and aims. An AI version does not have this advantage, as although they can access multiple technologies, there are limits he would personally face, as he does not have an understanding for the human race or friends he has made, as he does not have the experience behind him to help with this. He instead uses his technology to learn ways from one individual. The original seems stronger in all aspects, and in my personal opinion would overcome obstacles the remake version would not be able to. So as always, what do you guys think? Which version do you prefer, and who do you think would win in a fight? Let me know down in the comments. If you have enjoyed this video, please like, subscribe and switch on the notifications button, as I will be uploading more content like this. Like the OG Child's Play, this is an AI free channel and I do everything myself, so any support is greatly appreciated. Thank you so much for watching. You can check out my other content here. With that being said, I will see you in the next video.